Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the Funko Game of Thrones Legacy Collection Figure 6, Ned Stark. Spot will do his best to not spoil anything for those who have not watched Game of Thrones. I would also please ask that the viewers who are watching this review please don't also give away anything. That's mean. This is recommended for ages 17 and up. Comes to us from the folks over at Funko. And I'm not pleasantly surprised. I'm at least happy to see that Ned Stark was part of Wave 1. I think it would be very fitting that he was part of Wave 1. Also really a big fan of Sean Bean, so I mean anything he's in, I'm always enjoying his work. I also really liked him in Equilibrium. That's one of my favorite movies. Lesser known movie, but on the back there is a picture of Ned Stark, who also looks, well, he looked pretty much exactly the same as what Boromir in Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. He also kind of looked like Triple H, so there you go. The Legacy Collection Series 1 consists of Jon Snow, Tyrion Lannister, the Hound, White Walker, Daenerys Targaryen, and Ned Stark. On the flip end of it, if you want to check out more from the folks over at Funko, you head over to www.funko.com. You can also head over to facebook.com/originalfunko and add Original Funko over at Twitter. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at Ned Stark. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. The accessories that come with Ned Stark, you get not one, but two swords. One much longer than the other, quite a bit longer than the other, but very similar in handles and designs. The one sword, the shorter of the swords, can actually fit in the side sheath that's included in the figure itself. The other sword, on the other hand, does not fit anywhere. It's just something that you could have either in his hand or just not have him displayed with it. But some really, again, phenomenal paint on the swords. One consistent thing that I would have to say for all these figures from this Game of Thrones lineup is that the paint has been very impressive. Very clean and very well done, well executed. I'm going to take the sword out of its sheath, just makes things a lot easier not having to move the figure, because one thing too, the sword tends to get stuck right in there, right in his tunic, right in this section right here, gets stuck, so we just pull it right out, put it to the side. On a package level, when I was at least first looking at the figures in packaging, I think Ned Stark really didn't impress me as much as, say, some of the others. And I think when I've now got him out of packaging, he's a little more impressive than what I thought initially. On a likeness level, it's close. It's one of those things that from the side, it looks fairly close to him. The other side, it looks pretty good. When you're looking at him kind of straight on, he seems like something's off. And I don't know if maybe it's just the paint in his mouth, maybe the color of his beard. I almost feel like his hair could have been maybe just a tad bit longer. Maybe his ponytail a little more of an extra piece. Something just to kind of fill out his hair. I feel like his hair maybe is not maybe long enough. But the rest of the figure actually holds up pretty good. He's kind of falls in that same vein as the other figures like the Hound and Tyrion, Jon Snow. I mean, the colorings on them, they're not vibrant. They've certainly matched that of the show, but they're not vibrant in color. That's one of the reasons why I liked Daenerys so much, is that she at least really stood out amongst the crowd of the other figures. But he's got really some nice detailing in his belt area there. I mean, there's areas like on belts and loops and buckles and stuff like that there's a lot of companies, when they produce pieces like this, would have omitted that. And luckily, even things like rivets in this piece here, Funko has painted it all in. They've also added extra layers of paint into his sleeves. The boots, they've given a little bit of added stain and debris to it. Even really on the undersides of his feet look like they're shoes that he's walked around in. They're not clean, and nor really should they be clean. I think, again, they did really a good job. For your scaling, Ned Stark is certainly shorter than, say, the likes of the Hound. And when I had mentioned before with the White Walker, I kind of feel like the White Walker still is a good figure, but didn't need to be in part of Wave 1. And I mentioned things like Richard Baratheon could have been in Wave 1. I also really would have liked to see Jaime Lannister, like Season 1 Jaime Lannister, when he was still cocky and he was wearing the armor and you know, very clean cut. He would have been a nice addition to this wave as well, and maybe had kept the White Walker for like Wave 2 or Wave 3. Ned Stark, on the other hand, I think certainly fits the bill for being part of Wave 1. For where he is in the story, I think it makes sense that he would be part of Wave 1. And I think overall, he's not a bad-looking figure. My favorite still probably would be the Hound or Tyrion, but I think Ned definitely still rounds up a pretty solid-looking figure. Articulation Wise, Ned Stark's head is on a ball joint, and possibly he might still have the double ball joint, one ball joint in the neck socket, one in the head socket. Shoulders are also on a pin socket joint, so they rotate forward and back. Out is a swivel and bend in the elbow. Swivel in the hand, although this hand's a little bit stiff. He has the potential, and they're actually, I think they're the ball joints right underneath his belt. It moves, but not really a lot. You're really going to get it more to move up and down, not really a lot left and right. The legs, though, however, are still freely moving, because once again, they've made this more of a pliable rubber material in the lower section of the waist, so that at least the legs are not hindered. The legs go forward, back, swivel the thigh, double bend the knee, and swivel and bend in the foot. Overall, again, this is the last figure that we're looking at from the Legacy Collection. Overall, I'm really impressed with what Funko did. As far as I know, we're getting Series 2, and I'm hoping we're still going to get, you know, a future series out of this, Series 3, Series 4. There's a lot of characters. That's the one thing Game of Thrones has thrived on, is there is a substantial amount of characters. And also, what I mentioned with Tyrion, because they have so many different looks to them in the show, you can really just re-release certain characters in different outfits, and collectors, certainly myself included, would still be picking them up. Ned Stark, I'm going to give him a 7.5. Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the final figure from the Funko Game of Thrones Legacy Collection. This was Series 1, and we're looking at Ned Stark. Even though Spot's finished having a look at the Funko Game of Thrones figures, certainly stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have a lot more Toy Spots and other Spot videos heading your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.